Some breaking news out of the Middle East this morning. The Israeli cabinet has approved a plan to capture all of Gaza, all of the Gaza Strip, and remain there for an unspecified length of time. The government says that it would be distributing aid to Gazan civilians, but it wants to move civilians south and keep humanitarian aid from falling into the hands of Hamas. Now, this new offensive plan comes after tens of thousands of reserves were called up. So this is a significant development in the Middle East this morning. We can talk to Gregg Carlstrom, who's Middle East correspondent for The Economist. Morning to you, Greg. And this feels like a gear change, doesn't it?
It is, although I think we should say one thing we've learned over the past month and a half since Israel abandoned the ceasefire and resumed the war in Gaza is that there are plans and then there's what actually is happening on the ground. The army has been talking about this sort of plan for the past couple of months, not just going into parts of Gaza and carrying out raids as they did during the first year of the war, but going in and trying to hold territory in Gaza. And so announcing this plan, calling up these reservists, as you say, it's a step towards doing that. But I think it's going to be at least several weeks before we see this start to happen on the ground. Those troops have to be mobilized. These reservists are actually being sent to other fronts, to the occupied West Bank, to the northern border with Lebanon, and then conscript soldiers who are serving there are going to be moved down to Gaza to take part in this operation. So that's going to take some time. Also, I think the Israelis are going to wait until after Donald Trump's planned visit to the Middle East next week. So I think it may be several weeks before we start to see the ground offensive really escalate in force.
I thought it was interesting that they're saying they're going to wait until after Donald Trump's visit. I mean, as you say, part of that may well be a logistical factor, but also it seems as though they're hoping for the approval of Donald Trump and that he will give these plans his own personal green light. And we know, he said himself, he posted that extraordinary video, you'll remember, on social media, of Gaza looking like the new Riviera of the Mediterranean, and his vision for essentially taking control of the whole strip, having America actually controlling the strip and having all sorts of high-rise tower blocks and things, gold gilded statues of himself. So we know that he sort of personally quite likes the idea of driving Gazans out of Gaza, doesn't he?
He doesn't. I think even if, that gold-plated vision is not going to come to pass, what the Israelis are talking about now, there is going to be an American role in this, albeit a private role rather than a government role. Aid is meant to start flowing into Gaza again in the coming weeks. It's, of course, badly needed. It's been 2 months where no food, no medicine, no fuel, nothing has been allowed into the Gaza Strip. So the Israeli cabinet did vote as part of this plan to renew the offensive to also resume the flow of aid. But instead of directing that through the UN, through international agencies, through the humanitarian groups that have provided aid to Gaza for the past 18 months, the Israeli army is going to bring that aid into certain, what they're calling distribution hubs in Gaza, which are going to be secured, meant to be secured by private American security contractors, American mercenaries, who are going to provide security at these logistics hubs, and then aid is meant to be distributed from there. So you do have what sounds like a growing, again, it's private sector rather than official, but there is a growing American presence in Gaza.
And presumably the international reaction to this, as it emerges, will be condemnation, because most Western states, most allies of Israel even, still believe that a full Gazan offensive is the wrong thing to do and would be a violation, too, of international law.
Right, that is the message, as you say, from much of the world. That is what Trump is going to hear from the Saudis, from the Qataris next week when he comes to the region. It's also the view of most Israelis at this point. The majority of the Israeli public, in poll after poll for months now, is very clear that they want to complete the ceasefire. They want to secure the release of all of the Israeli hostages who are still being held in Gaza. They prioritize the plight of the hostages over resuming the war. So Netanyahu, by doing this, by breaking the ceasefire 2 months ago, and now by announcing plans to escalate the war in Gaza, he's not only defying much of the world, he's also defying the majority of the Israeli public.